Welcome everybody, welcome back to another Affinity photo tutorial. This week we've got another composite tutorial for you, and we're going to recreate this picture here with the girl staring through the glass at the beluga whale. Okay, as usual, let's get started. So we're going to come across here to the picture that we're going to start with, which is our girl looking out of a window at some office blocks. So the first thing we are going to do is come over here to the background layer, and we're going to go Command J and duplicate that layer. And on that background layer, what we want to do now is select the girl here. So we're going to come up here to our selection brush, and we're going to make this picture a little bit bigger with our Command plus. Holding down my shift, just moving that picture a little bit more into the center. And then with my selection brush, just start to select the girl here in the picture looking out the window. It's a fairly quick selection. Okay, we can zoom in a little bit more, and we'll just make sure we got all these little bits all the way around. We want a really good selection for this top of the hair here as well. Zoom right in on this bit, get a really small brush here. Holding my Option key, we're just going to get that tiny little bit there as well. Okay, let's zoom out. Come up here to refine up the top here. Actually going to give this 2 pixels smoothing and 2 pixels feather and hit apply. Now once we've got the selection and we're happy, we're going to go Command C to copy and Command V to paste, and we just copy and pasted just the girl here in the window. And for now, we're just going to turn that layer off. We can get rid of these marching ants now here by hitting Escape or Command D, clicking back on our background layer here, and now we're going to bring over the picture of the water. So Command C, back over to here, Command V. Going to make both pictures a bit smaller with my Command minus just to take it a little bit smaller. On this background layer, I'm just going to reduce the opacity just so I can see it a little bit, and grab my move tool, and now I'm just going to place this picture where I want it, and I want some of background of the ground here and the top here. So thinking that's looking pretty good. We'll bring the opacity all the way back up, make our picture a little bit bigger again. We're also going to turn off this layer now. So now back on our background layer, I'm going to grab our pen tool, and we're going to mask out the windows. So on our pen tool, we want to make sure we've got this one up here, add new curve to selective curved objects clicked on. The mode is fine just with the pen tool. I'm going to have snapping turned off. What I'm going to do, just right in the window here, I'm just going to make my first click, and now I'm going to hold my shift key down and click in the next corner, and I've still got my shift key down as I go around each of these windows. Okay, so I'm going to release the shift key, and then I'm going to hold it down, make a click here, hold down my shift key again as I go all the way around this window. Holding down my shift key just gives me a straight line. So I'm going to release my shift key, make my first click, hold the shift key down, and make my other clicks all the way around these windows. Okay, release. Okay, now we've marked our lines all the way around these windows. I'm going to come back to my pen tool here on this little corner here, and I'm just going to drop that down and come down to the node tool. Click on that. Now what we can do with the node tool is we can zoom right in, move over, holding shift key to move through to the picture. Each of these little nodes we can now move. I'm just going to click and start moving them so I get right into the corners of these windows and just the bits that I want to mask out shortly. So I'm clicking there, come down to the bottom and do the same. See how they're not quite straight? So I just want to get them all straight and nice right into those windows because we want the selection to be really tight. So again, just moving those nodes, holding my shift and moving through the picture, and just moving that node up and down a little bit. Shift again. See, that one's out quite a bit, so we're going to move it back into the corner, making sure, there we go, up to the top here. One needs to drop down a little bit, right tight into the corner there. Same with this one. Let's drop it down a little bit. There we go. Over to this one, we'll pull that out a little bit right into the corner, all the way down the bottom. Let's get this one right into the corner and drop down a little bit. And the same as this one, we'll move that in right into that window there a little bit more. Okay, let's reduce the size of the picture again. Holding my shift key, I'll just move it into the center. center. So now we need to change back from our node tool to our pen tool, and then that will give us this selection box up the top here. So I'm going to hit selection, and there we go. It's put our marching ants all the way around these windows. So what we're going to do now on this background layer that we've got highlighted, I'm going to add a mask. Here we go. We've got the mask here. I'm going to grab my background layer here. I'm going to drag it down to the right hand side of the mask here. So just drag it down, and you can see we've got this green box there, and I'll just drop it there. And now we've got the water looking like it's in the windows. So we can turn the background layer of the girl back on now. Puts our girl back into the scene. So I'm just going to collapse that now. The next thing I'm going to do is add a new pixel layer. And I want that pixel layer on top of background here and underneath the girl. And we're going to still utilize our marching ants here. On this pixel layer that we've just added, I'm going to come over here to our flood fill tool and make sure I've got white up here on my colors, and I'm just going to flood that area with white, and it's only going to flood where we've got that selection. So that's exactly what we want. So on that pixel layer, I'm going to drop that opacity to about 25%. It gives us that opaque look, as like the glass is still there. So I'm quite happy with that. Also just going to change that layer to screen just to make it a little bit lighter as well. Now at this point we can get rid of our marching ants now, again by hitting escape or command D on the keyboard. So what we want to do now is we're going to add our beluga whale. Now we grabbed our selection brush tool and we made a selection of our whale here. I've already made my selection. On the refine we're going to do 2, and on the feather I'm going to make it 4 pixels on the feather and apply that. Now I'm going to go command C back to our original picture and command V. Got our beluga whale here. I'm going to come up to our move tool, just going to resize it. Beluga whales have about a lifespan of between 35 and 50 years. They can grow up to about 4.2 meters, about 13 feet when they're fully grown, and just size it to about where you like. I think that's pretty good as we've got it here. We're going to take our whale now, and I'm also going to drag it to the right hand side of this mask, and that'll put our whale behind the glass there as well, looking pretty good. I'm going to show you a little trick now that I learned from a man by the name of Glyn. He does Photoshop tutorials, and he has this little trick about blending in an image to its background, and it's really simple. So on this background layer of the whale, what we're going to do is just drop the opacity to 90%. And I don't know if you can see the difference there. We take it back up to 100, then take it back down to 90. You might be able to just see the difference, that it's really helped blend that whale into the background. And that's a little Photoshop trick that some of the Photoshop experts use to blend their images into the background. So now we've got our whale in place here. I'm going to click back on the whale, and I'm going to go command J, and on the top layer of the whale here I'm going to come up to arrange and flip vertically. Now I'm just going to move that down to about here, same sort of spot. On that background copy, come down here to FX, which is layer effects. Click on that, click on overlay, makes that color go a little bit darker, and then on that background layer I'm going to drop that opacity. Let's go 50%, giving that a little bit of a shadow there, and we can just move that down a little bit. Okay, so happy with that. Okay, so now we're ready to bring in our bubbles. So I'm going to go command C, back to our original picture, command V. Just going to drop the opacity on this layer a little bit so I can just see through where I want to place it. About here, we can always move it later. Take our opacity all the way back up. Change the blend mode to screen. And then with this background layer, I'm going to drag it all the way down right underneath our whale here. So it gives the look of those bubbles being behind the whale. So I'm just going to take that all the way down to the left of the whale here and drop that underneath. There we go. So now it looks like our bubbles are behind. Do want to move it a little bit more. So I'm going to make that a little bit bigger and bring it probably about there. Looks pretty good. I like this area where there's no bubbles here, where I can fit the jellyfish that we're going to put in as well. So we are ready to do that now. So we can grab our jellyfish, and as you can see, I've already used my selection brush tool to make a selection around the jellyfish. Quite easy because of this black background, so your selection should be quite easy. So Command C, once you've made your selection, back over here to our main picture and Command V. Going to change the blend mode of the jellyfish as well to screen, making it really, really light. And also I want to drag this all the way down behind these bubbles as well. So I'm just going to drag this all the way down behind the bubbles and move it over here to this section where there isn't any bubbles, and just resize, make this sort of whatever size you like, and just fit it into that little area there. Just makes the picture a little bit more interesting. So now we've got all our elements in play. So I'm just going to collapse all that up. I want to make a new pixel layer right on top here. I'm going to grab my brush, going to have my opacity at 50 and my flow at 50, and make sure I'm painting in black. Make sure we're on this blank pixel layer up here, just on the bottom here, right underneath the shelf. I'm going to add a little bit of shadow. I'm just going to click right in the corner here. I'm going to hold my shift key down, and I'm just going to click right at the end here, and that'll put that shadow in a straight line all the way across. Just going to grab my move tool, just going to stretch that out a little bit. It just adds that little bit of shadow underneath the shelf here. So there we go. And as I always say, everybody, there are many ways to achieve these results. This is not 100% perfect, but I hope I've showed you some little tips and tricks in compositing in Affinity Photo. If you did enjoy the tutorial, please give me a thumbs up. Please consider subscribing to my channel, and I'll say to you, until next time, be brave, go out and do something amazing, and I'll see you in the next video.